Hi viewers, I'm Lee. I'm from Complete Security Recruitment. This is another podcast. Today I'm joined by Amanda Gowing and Richard from Site Security Services. Both have worked with previously in various guises in various companies that they've worked within, and they've got quite an interesting story to tell about how their business was formed and how they've coped with the last couple of years. With all the turmoils that most businesses have gone through. So I thought it'd be nice to get them together and have a conversation with them and find out a little bit more about their last few couple of years, how they've set up the business and how it all started. So Amanda and Richard, for our viewers' benefit, can you tell me a little bit about your backgrounds prior to entering the fire and security industry?
Yeah, sure. So previous to coming into fire and security, quite a long time ago, I was at Vodafone for just over 10 years, running sort of large operation teams. And after that, I was working for Royal and Sun Alliance for 12 years. That was in their engineering division, and sort of running teams all over the country, really.
Yeah, for myself, I was at school before the industry occasionally, and I also went to carpentry to start with, subcontractor in the carpentry industry before I obviously came into security quite a youngish age.
Sure. So for both of you, it was the first steps into the industry, and what basically got you into the industry? What was that the driver and the trigger that got you in?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was at Royal and Sun Alliance. I've been there 12 years. I loved the job I was doing, but actually I knew I wanted to progress and do something different. I'm a very much people manager. I love running people, running teams of people. So I wanted to find a new job that I could do that with those skills. So I actually, the first job I looked at was for a customer service and operations director at Chris Lewis Fire and Security. I applied for that job, met with the owner, really loved the thought of that job. And that's, I applied, had 2 or 3 interviews and got that role. So that's really how I got into the industry.
Yeah, quite a bit of a change there, really, from what he was doing, but
complete change. But actually, I think the skills he was looking for was around, people and people development, culture, particularly, and changing things in a business. So I think, the skills I had actually aligned, very well, and thank goodness, because actually that step and that role was what got me into what I'm doing now, and I wouldn't be running a business in this industry now if it wasn't for that. So
no, definitely. I think you're right. I think at the time it was something that the business desperately needed somebody to come in and really grab hold of the culture within the business and bring a positive energy into it, which is something that you definitely did.
Yes, and obviously we met there, Lee, and I think that it was true that there was quite a bit of change initially, in the business, but actually there was I recruited some great people. Richard was one of those. And I think I loved my role there. I absolutely loved it. So
that definitely brought a lot of energy and a real positive vibe to that business at the time, because it had its problems there, definitely. And Richard, carpentry over to the electrical side, that's a bit of a change.
Yeah, so it was actually I'd started up my own business in carpentry back in 2009 when a recession hit. So I was a bit the best time to start businesses. And it was quiet. My father-in-law at the time was owned Ace Fire and Security, and he kindly gave me a couple of helping days to try and run some cables with people and for different customers, and I helped out here and there, and it just progressed from there, really. I then took a job as an apprentice engineer and worked my way up from there, really. So yeah, it's strange how things work out, but it was obviously got me into the industry, which I love. So
yeah, no, it's strange the amount of people that I do talk to who literally fall into the industry at engineering level, generally through friends or family and things like that, and it's addictive. People love it. Once they get in, they really do tend to enjoy it, and it's quite amazing the amount of people that have gone that route that I thought I'd give it a try, and turns out they absolutely love it. Brilliant, good stuff. So in that respect, is that someone that you would say was influential in your that have helped you and impacted in shaping your career, Richard?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
further on in the story.
Yeah, I think probably I was when I was at school, I was a bit of a well, when I went to school, I wasn't always the best child at school probably, and I think the first person was my dad. He sat me down one day and told me, you carry on like that, you're not going to get far enough, and it always sticks with me sitting in the dining room having that conversation. So I'd say that was one part, but yeah, Kevin for sure. He was he taught me a lot, very methodical. The way that he runs a business is probably the best that I've seen. Well, obviously, he's not only been at 2 other companies, but he's very methodical, directive. He knows what he's talking about, and he's done a great job over there. So I learned a lot from him, and yeah, I think that's that's how I am a little bit, with methodical. Maybe not as directive as him, but yeah, he was definitely one of the most influential to get me on my journey. And then obviously Amanda, I wouldn't have been here where I am now if Amanda hadn't rang me up and asked if I wanted to start a business. So definitely Amanda, and also she's definitely taught me a lesson, selective hearing. So patience. And also we've got a really great business coach, Kevin Riley. He helped us no end, especially when coronavirus was at its worst, and we could have just stopped doing everything, shut up, and just waited till it all passed. But he pushed us on to keep marketing, keep speaking to people, build relationships, and without him, I think he's another influential person that's been in our business for us. So.
Yeah, it's important to have those people, and I think there's a lot of people. I mean, we use business coaches, and without them, you don't get that third perspective of the business. Yeah. Someone that can look in from the outside and go, right, are you doing this, and this, and how are you doing it? And you think you can be doing everything perfectly right, and they'll go, no, don't do that. Stop doing that. Spend your time here, there, or something else. Yeah. And it's so beneficial.
And they just really, I find for us, they really keep us on track. So, and that's really important because, you set yourself goals, and actually, I think sometimes particularly early on, you get a bit embedded in the day-to-day running of a business, and you don't sort of oversee it and look at the bigger picture sometimes, they'll push that with you. So I think for us, that's why we've really loved having a coach. And for our mindset initially, in sort of the first lockdown, he was absolutely fantastic. And he really taught me a lot about mindset, and how you should be thinking during certain times. So brilliant.
I would definitely say that you have to select that person very carefully, though, because we have, you go to any kind of networking, the amount of business coaches you see out there, and we've actually had an experience, not actually had any coaching, but we've been in a networking group with another business coach, and he just couldn't be bothered to turn up sometimes, and it was just, I think they have to be right for you, and Kevin was absolutely spot on, and his team that he's got there are actually fantastic. So we're very lucky to be able to have them as a business coach.
No, they definitely have their value, but as you say, it's finding the right one sometimes that that you gel with and feel comfortable with, because
Yes.
you've got to be totally transparent and honest with these people to get the best from them.
Not ones that have just read it out of a book either. They've lived it, they've breathed it, they've had the same mistakes as most people make. I think that's important, that they've got the life experience and of actually running the business.
Good. And Amanda, who's been the influential people in shaping your career?
I mean, for me, I've got one real clear person, and that was when I went to Vodafone. It was actually a company called Talkland at the time. We were sort of brought by Vodafone a few years later from joining them, and that was about a company, sort of 300 people. It was a big relocation up into Oxfordshire, and that's sort of where I went initially as like a credit analyst. And the owner of that at the time, a guy called Peter Edwards, he was the most influential person in my life, and very inspiring guy. And he saw something in me, helped me get into management at that company, and ended up running large sort of team, over 100 people. So I have a lot to thank him for, I think. Going back there, I worked really hard. I always knew that I wanted to really progress into management. But he sort of helped me along the way, as well as quite a few other people at the time, actually. So
Good. We all need them. We all definitely have those people that help shape us or give us that inspiration or that spark.
And I think sometimes at the time you don't necessarily realise it, and it's only quite a number of years later you think, oh, that person has such an effect on my life. So
it tends to be at the times where you either get another manager or somebody who you report to who's just not half the person of the person that you worked with previously, and you can see the differences, and you go, God, I wish I was back there. They definitely everybody has them, and there's always people that you are grateful for, but most of the time they're probably 3, 4, 5, 10 years previous, sometimes before you realize it. But there we go. So Richard, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, so let me set the scene. Amanda, you're in senior position with Orion, which you went to after Chris Lewis. One which you held many responsibilities there. Richard, you was at Chris Lewis Security after Amanda brought you into the business, also in a senior position. Who had the idea of setting up site?
After Chris Lewis, a job I absolutely loved, I went to Orion, and initially, I liked the job, felt like I could have, a lot of challenges there. Within a few months, though, I wasn't, I think maybe because I loved my previous role, it didn't live up to it. So I know when I was at Chris Lewis, I know Rich had talked about running, his own business at one point, and I know that was something that had certainly crossed his mind. I have to say, it had never crossed mine. I worked as big corporate companies. That was my thing, really. Obviously, then going to Chris's, it was a smaller, 60, 70 people there. It was much smaller than I'd been used to, but actually, I really quite liked that. As well. It was nice to see the contrast. So it just got me thinking, really. I wasn't happy. I've always been so happy in my roles that I've done. I give everything to them, and I just couldn't see myself, staying there, really. So we had a phone call, and I said, what do you think? Do you want to start? Really, and we knew there'd be some challenges in that. Obviously, we needed some money, because we didn't have setting up a fire security company is not like setting up a cake making business, is it? Really,
no.
You need we needed like an engineer, a van. We needed some good processes in place and equipment, and and of customers, of course. So it wasn't going to be quick and easy to do. And I think we knew it'd be really hard work. But yeah, so I made the phone call to you, Rich, and
that's where it happened, really. Obviously, I was in a position then when I'd come into a business and I felt the resource level was quite tight anyway, if that makes sense. But then with various people leaving, at one point I had 3 project managers working under me, and I had Amanda as support above me, and then the amount of engineers, and it actually turns out that all of those jobs, I didn't have a full-time permanent project manager, so I was having to do those, look after the engineers, looking after the stores and stores, and then also having to do weekly reporting for, where the profit was on all the jobs, where's all the materials being spent. And I really enjoyed it at sometimes, but towards the end, it felt like it was how many saddles you could put on a donkey. I was just about to fall over, so I didn't really take more than 35 seconds to figure out that I was going to start a business.
Well, by the sounds of it, you effectively were. You was effectively doing most of the jobs in the business. Yeah,
which is good. You mistake, from your mistakes, and you just make sure you don't do them again. And I definitely think that I learned a lot there, good and bad things. I learned from that, and I think that's the same with every experience. When you do things wrong, you just have to make sure that you don't do them again, and when you do them right, you just log them and make sure that you do them right again the next time. So
definitely,
it's a bit of a journey.
Definitely.
So from there, really, we knew funding was obviously the really important thing. So I sort of drafted a business plan. Initially, we spent quite a lot of time on that, didn't we? And then I was lucky to still be in touch with an FD of another company who I spent about 3 hours in a Costa coffee with one afternoon, and literally sort of ripping it apart and looking at it. And from that, I went and got some finance for the business. I have to say, it was incredibly easy at that point.
Really?
So, I would always say, give it a chance. You've got to have a really good business plan. But if you have, then honestly, people will lend you money, or they did us. So, and I think it's important as well, because, they almost brought into us as well. So, we
just don't expect it to be easy, though. It might be easy getting money, but making money in the long run is a lot harder.
Yeah, but obviously once we got the money, we knew it was a green light then. That's 100% what we were going to do. So, but I mean, I was at Orion. Actually, I'd already given my notice in at Orion because I knew I wasn't happy then. I wasn't going to stay there. So I was either going to set up my own business or go somewhere else. So I was already on that sort of notice period, and Rich, you gave your notice, didn't you? And we were really excited, weren't we, to be starting on the journey.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and we're within a month. We were. I mean, I sort of in the background, set up obviously a limited company, the VAT and all the stuff that actually you do, which took. There's quite a lot of stuff to do. We met with an accountant, didn't we? And just started learning. The amount of stuff I learned in the first sort of couple of months, as we started on that path was quite amazing, actually. But we're just so enjoyable. And I recall the first day. I recall the first day where so Rich was actually I was sort of based at home at that time, and Richard had a friend, didn't you, who had a business who kindly let him use a desk there. So do you want to tell Lee about your first day and what
the first day was just sat at a desk with a laptop thinking, what do I do now? I've turned it on. Where do we go from here? How do we, from a complete standstill, where do I find my first customer? And that was that's when the excitement of starting the business turned into, right, we really got to do this now.
Yeah.
Got to get your head down, find some customers. But it went fairly well at the beginning of the first 6 months. We got a lot of decent customers in, which helped us through.
Yeah, we got a local council, and that was a big win for us, and actually one that enabled us to then go on and sell to other larger customers, which is great. We sort of started as well with residentials. We really after anyone, and we did a lot of that through sort of family and friends and contacts. But then obviously, so we actually at month 5 we were ahead of where we wanted to be on our sales forecast for the year, which was fabulous. And then a few weeks later, we got locked down. So that obviously, and that was never on my business plan, Lee, strangely enough. That we would, we'd have a global pandemic.
I can't imagine anything more scary as a business owner than sort of seeing it start to progress from really, it was sort of late December onwards that you started to see the signs of it. And then all of a sudden, come March, that's it, Bedlam broke loose, and you're in lockdown.
I think that's interesting that you say that, like that, scary, because, and I'm just trying to think back to that time, and I don't think I ever felt scared about, like, I didn't feel, and I don't know if it was because that's about when Kevin and his team come in, but I don't think I've felt too scared about it. I just thought to myself, I've got to keep going, and we just got to build those relationships. I can't. It's that long ago. It really is that long ago. I can't remember.
I mean, I remember literally sort of the first day of lockdown. I mean, obviously we had, we deal in fire, so we always knew, we wanted to keep our customers running. We got a couple of big, really good maintenance customers. And I remember that first day actually of lockdown, and you came to get a part for a fire system. He came over on his motorbike, and he was in his leathers, and it was red hot, wasn't it, in April? We sat in the garden and sort of talking about lockdown, how that would impact the business. And I think we thought a few months we'd be over it. Really, we did. Do you remember? We just
like 3 or 4 months. We'll back on it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. So and obviously it wasn't, but we never once had a conversation of should we just pause the business? And a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And there was also, I had a lot of friends with businesses that they felt they couldn't sell. There was a wrong time to sell. And I totally disagreed with that. I felt, and we actually got some really good customers. So we had a hotel, and they're called Feldon Valley. And I know, they'd be more than happy. And actually, we're just using them as a case study on our website. So they've been quoted 5 weeks from ADT to get some service. So they tried to close up their hotel with an intruder alarm, which hotels generally don't use intruder alarms because they're always open. They had a problem that needed urgent attention, and as I say, they were quoted 5 weeks from ADT. And I think some of those bigger companies actually found it really difficult to just know what the hell was going on with quite big workforces. And we had an email from the general manager. I think he put an email out to like 3 local companies saying, can you help? And we were out there, got it all fixed, up and running, monitors swapped over the following day. So, and now he's brought over all of his contracts to us. We look after absolutely everything. We've done new installations in the hotel. And it's a beautiful hotel right in the middle of the countryside. And we actually, in a way, because we kept going and we were really hungry for business because we knew we had to be to survive, we we picked up some great customers in that time.
Yeah, it was, you know, from our perspective, it was just like the switch got switched off overnight. It went from complete bedlam like it is normally to April. That's it. No one was hiring. You know, nobody knew what, how long, what, where, when. We were seeing customers and clients, etc., just basically putting most of their workforce on furlough because they just didn't know whether they could get access to places, whether there was any scope of how long it was going to last, and whether they were going to even have work for most of their workforce in 6 months' time. You know, so it was a scary time, definitely for us, and that. But yeah, a lot of businesses did find it tough. But there were quite a few businesses that did incredibly well out of it as well. A lot of our clients have done phenomenally well out of it and come out of it a lot stronger than what they went into it. But yeah, definitely some squeaky bum time, I think, for a lot of businesses there. But by the sound of it, you had a great business coach that prepped you well and got you through that.
Yeah, he did. And also, he taught us about focusing on residentials weren't going to have us in their properties, so that was wiped out.
Yeah.
Even commercials, unless it was a call out, they weren't going to have us there because there was no one at commercials generally. So we kind of focused on, going in for construction because that was allowed to keep going.
Yeah.
With call outs and construction, that's really where we focused our time at that point and building relationships to get those kind of work working.
Yeah, I mean, we worked really hard in that time, and we used to sit and make about 60, 70 phone calls each a day to electrical contractors, builders, people that we felt that when things, because that first lockdown was really harsh, wasn't it? And a lot, even the construction industry seemed to just stop for a month or so. So, we knew once it all started getting going, that could be an area that we could at least get some business from. And we did. We got some good contracts. And actually, we spoke to people that we probably wouldn't normally get hold of. So directors were picking phones up because they furloughed their staff.
Yeah.
And so we could have great conversations with owners of business, like large businesses. And asking them if we could at least tender for their projects, and that's what we did, and that served us very well actually. And we've had 4 or 5 very big, large, care homes, 6-7 story properties in Westminster, that are complete fit outs, and they've really done us very well through the time.
No, definitely. I know you mentioned you picked up a council contract. Was that something that kept you busy during the lockdowns as well? Because a lot of their properties obviously remained open.
Yeah, they did. So, those properties were great, for maintaining, doing all their maintenances, also doing some sort of small works and stuff. So that was, they were good contracts. I want to say we were lucky because we had them, but actually we worked really hard to get them. It was good, the type of customers we had. Yeah,
definitely.
We just before lockdown, we'd tendered for a job in Oxford. That was an installation, complete office refurb. A company moved offices, and we'd had a meeting a few weeks before the lockdown, and we just got the go ahead actually, and they still did the work, so they had people going in completing their works for them sort of safely with COVID measures in place, but we were able to do that complete office refurb, which was great.
Good. You've done very, very well to come through that. I mean, you set a business up, and then within 6 months you're in lockdown, and it's like, Christ, where does it end? But
we're never boring, Lee. I think that's anyone that knows us will definitely say that. So,
you love a challenge, don't you? You never do things the easy way.
Yeah, we love a challenge for sure.
And something that you could probably both answer on this: when you set up a business, how challenging is it to look beyond the bottom line? Is that something that's kept you awake at night, or does it drive you the other way and keep you motivated?
It goes from both. I know Rich would laugh because it does, I mean, it's kept me awake at night. Sometimes, I'll be like, bloody hell, I didn't sleep last night. So yeah, it does. I mean, I think, you hear it so often when you have a business, cash flow is absolute king. And being able to make sure you can pay your staff as well as keep things running. Making sure your people pay you on time, and that's really critical. And that actually, out of everything, is what pushes us a little. Where people just don't pay you on time. But I think we've got actually some really good customers as well that do. But as I'm sure every business does, we've had other people get into trouble. Which has really pushed us to the limit. So yes, that's caused some sleepless nights, but I think through everything we want to deliver great customer service, and that's what we always try to deliver. And so although obviously we've got the bottom line, we need to make a profit as a business, you have to really weigh that up against your customer service, and I would never not deliver great service for that bottom line, if I'm honest. It's really important to us. And when we set the business up, we wanted to do two things. We wanted to deliver great service for our customers, but we also wanted to have a great working environment for our staff. And I think we've done that, and we continue to drive that. And it's a big thing for us. So, and although you've always got that bottom line, we still take our team out, we do events, we keep them motivated. We're trying to employ the best people that we can. And actually, I think in turn that brings us money because we have a great team of people that our customers love to have on site.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely affects Amanda slightly more than me. Maybe because, I don't know why, but it definitely is stressful. 100%. There's stress with the bottom line, but for me, I just try to think, we've got to keep going, keep pushing, because no matter how much you stare at it, you still need more to bring, to sort it out. So it's where we work actually really well together, I think, because if I was how I was, we'd probably be bankrupt by now, because I'm just like, just don't worry about it, let's keep going, let's keep pushing. We're just everything's going in. So, and the manager's obviously more right. This is it. This is So that's where we work well together. I'd pick up and just maybe make Amanda worry less about it, which is a good thing. But then she makes me worry more about it, which is a good thing also. So
so you got a good balance there.
I just don't think you can worry about it all the time, because if you do worry about it all the time, then you shouldn't be running a business. Because the way we look at things, we put money into the business to develop it. So you've always got to know about it and where it is and what's happening and so on. But to grow a business, there's risks you have to take. If you don't take them, then you're not going to grow. So stressful, but I don't need to sleep about it.
No, fair play. And Amanda, you mentioned there was quite a bit that you did when you first set the business up, and there was a lot that needed doing in the background. What was it? Were there anything within that you wish you'd known when you were first starting out, or things that you've learned along the way that you wish you'd known when you first set the business up? Now we're 2 years down the line?
Yeah.
A bit, aren't we?
Yeah, 2.5. We'll be through 3 years in September. We'll be coming up to when we actually sort of decided to set the business. But I actually don't think I would change very much, in all honesty. When I was setting the business up, I did learn a lot. And actually, I think I remember our first meeting with the accountant. And I remember I had like a list. I must have had a list of 15 things, I wanted to talk about. And, as we went through them, I also was able to almost give the answer. I'd done so much research that actually I I think Rich looked at me as if saying, well, you know all this stuff already. So yeah, and actually that was a good meeting for me. It gave me a lot of positivity that, I can do this. I've run, big teams in other companies, and actually I thought, well, it's quite similar in a way. I've just got to learn about it and then I can do it. So
yeah, I think I wouldn't change anything. If I was giving one piece of advice to anyone that was starting a business, is to maybe, don't focus on one thing too much. But when it comes to your customers, and you've constantly got to be looking at what's changing. And I would say, don't spend too much time, for instance, on tendering. Think, I need a big job. Yeah. Don't spend all your time tendering, because generally things are changing and you've got to keep your eyes on all different sectors. And for instance, like when the coronavirus hit, obviously we weren't pushing domestic installations. So I think that's the biggest thing, because if you're on point with that, and you know where you're getting success with your customers, then that will bring you a lot of business, I think, personally.
Yeah, and our coach always says to us, it's about activity, and doing activity in lots of different areas. And I think we do that now. I think we've got about 7 or 8 different areas that we have activity going on. And actually we're really reaping the benefits of that now.
Good. Sometimes, when you see one bit's doing well, you push more on that.
Yeah.
And then it might go a bit quiet and you go and start pushing on another section. So I think that's one of the key points for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And now you've grown the business, and you've taken on more staff, more engineers. You're now at a stage where, as a business, you're looking really rounded, and that you've got all of the key elements that you need within the business. With engineers, a lot of the time I'm asked about what can they do to improve their prospects of getting further training or promotions. You've both worked in various companies with different attitudes to this. And what would your advice be to these engineers that want training but don't seem to be able to gain it or get promotions? What's the biggest piece of advice you'd give those guys?
I think I'm probably a bit old school in this, to be honest, and whether it's right or wrong, who knows. But I just think if you've got good work ethic and work hard, that's probably enough. Good attitude, you want to work and you're willing to work hard, then you'll just develop those two things. As long as you push, good customer service, like for me, that's all you need. And that's when the training will come if you need the training. Obviously when you're an engineer, sometimes I think you have to think, if you work on a Galaxy panel 3 times a year and you want training on it, you're probably not going to get that training because it costs money. And that's one thing I'd say is coming through engineering myself, you have to think about the business as well, from the business side. If you want training on something that the company aren't using, chances are they're not going to put you on it, unless it's something which you want to move into going forward in the future. But just think, you've got to think both sides of the fence, I think, and good attitude, work hard, and you'll get to wherever you want to get to.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of those things, and I think attitude is really important, and positivity, and actually an engineer is the face of your business with the customer, and that is so important to remember. I'm a real, advocate for great customer service, and, all of my engineers, I want them, turning up on time, looking smart, fan clean. I suppose all things, actually that were instilled in Chris Lewis, is something that we look for now, don't we, in our engineers? It's so important to have even those, the from the ground, really, just like having your van clean when you turn up, to show a customer that actually do care about what you do, keeping it really tidy. And just your general attitude, and sometimes just going a little bit above and beyond for customers. So we had a customer, we did a maintenance, it was the second year they'd renewed with us. And, you know, they said, oh, why aren't the guys here? Can he just change? They had, they needed long ladders to change some lights in the soffit. The engineer was just really happy to go and do that for them. You know, so he did the maintenance, cleaned some CCTV, changed a couple of light bulbs for them. And actually they were overjoyed. And, you know, what does it hurt? It's, you know, 5 minutes of his time. He was really happy to do it. You know, and I know we'll probably keep that customer again and again because of it. So, yeah, it's just all those little things that are really important.
Definitely. No, it's good advice. Good. And so we're now, what, 2.5 years into the formation of business. You've survived the pandemic. Your team's growing. Things are looking good. What's next for the business? What are your goals? What's next for site security?
Okay, so growth is really important for us now, but not growth where it gets ridiculous and we can't cope with it as a business. So we look to grow. I do a lot of networking, most of the networking for the business. You know, we've got a lot of all the activities we talked about going on, you know, on sort of, you know, Google, different lead stuff we do on LinkedIn. We've got a sales guy, we've got a new sales and marketing lady. So, you know, all those things are all about activities. We want to grow the business for sure. We will not do it though at the risk of ever harming customer service, because that is so important to us.
No, critical.
So that's really where we're focusing on.
Yeah, I think it's important. You know, I've seen it, and I can understand it 100%. And I really hope it doesn't happen to us, because I don't know if it's one of the things that just sneak up on you. But you know, I just think it's really important the amount of times you go to a company and you know you're under resourced, not because maybe you know it's the kind of clients you have, maybe, but we really want to have it so. You know, people still want to work, pick the right people, like we say, make sure that we're doing things, processes are strong, and make sure we've got enough people to be able to actually provide the service that we're willing to provide.
Definitely. And you mentioned that you'd just taken on another engineer, so obviously your workload has increased again from where you were, and which is massively positive. You know, for the relatively short time that the business has been open, you know, you've done so well.
Yeah, I mean, we look at that and we look at the growth, and we try and put an engineer in place before we need a whole engineer, if you like, actually. So, you know, we have that little bit of slack. I mean, we're lucky because we've got a lot of service customers, you know, as well as new installations now. So, but we find we sort of, you know, we monitor that and we sort of have a trigger point really when we know we need to put someone in place so it doesn't impact it.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of go back to the bottom line thing really again, because it's, you know, we take that engineer on before you actually 100% need it. Is, you know, maybe some people might think that's a silly idea because you're actually going to be not making as much money, if that makes sense. But if you do, then it's one, it gets them into the job, knowing the customers and so on, and rather than starting someone and chucking them into, you know, somewhere where, you know, a big school, for instance, where you need an engineer once a month, you know, at least they've got time to kind of get to know and understand things.
Yeah, definitely. Good. And this is a big thing for the industry at the moment. The industry is having major challenges at the moment with lack of skilled individuals at all levels, people leaving the industry, very little of people coming into the industry. What do you see as what can be done to encourage new talent into the industry and retain the talent that is in the industry? Obviously, there is the aging workforce that a lot of businesses are seeing, where the engineers are getting to that age where they're starting to retire.
Yeah.
What have you got ideas that can bring people in? What would you suggest?
Yeah, so we have quite a youngish engineer, but we Yeah, that actually approached us, and so we met with him. He had about 8 or 9 months experience actually with another company, and unfortunately that company was sort of, you know, made him redundant because they were going to fold actually. But you know, we weren't scared of that. We actually wanted to take you know, someone on to go with another engineer. Now, the conversation we had with him was really interesting. So we met him for a coffee and a chat to sort of see, you know, if he'd be a good fit for us, because actually it's important for us, all our staff are a good fit for our business and our customers in particular. So we had a conversation with him about, you know, an apprenticeship and doing an apprenticeship, but actually it wasn't something, was it, that he was, you know, overly keen on?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's when it comes to that side of things, you know, I can relate to it quite a lot, because when like I said, when I left school, I didn't really want to spend any more time going into a classroom. I think what we could do within the industry is, you know, maybe some help for companies to take on people that don't want to do apprenticeship schemes. They want to just come into a business, get their hands-on experience, and just learn the trade. Because, like I say, I think you'd find that you'd get a whole lot more uptake if it was right. You join the business, you're just in the business, you start working, and you learn on the job as you go.
Yeah.
You know, but that can be a struggle for a business, because you don't know. You know, they could, for 6 months, 12 months, they might be costing you money. But
yeah,
if there was help from, you know, other, you know, whether government or however, you know, like an apprenticeship scheme, then I think you would find that more youngsters would want to get involved with that sector. And so I think that's one thing that's
definitely recognizing the different skills that people have, and you know, what they can give really. And you know, when we talked to him about, you know, block release or day release, you know, you could almost see him sort of switching off, couldn't you? And he said, oh, you know, I just really want to train. You know, he'd been doing it for a number of months, and you know, he loved it, and he actually had a lot of knowledge, didn't he? So you know, we took him on, we put him with another engineer, did a good training plan for him. Rich, you know, he mentors him, which is great. And actually it's working really well, to the fact that, you know, a couple of weeks ago we bought him his own van, and he's out now doing sort of, you know, maintenances and, you know, some of the sort of lower level things, although actually he really is doing brilliantly. And, you know, he's assisting with another engineer today. You know, they're doing a CCTV system together for the next 3 days. And you know, he's certainly, we feel, well qualified to do that now. So.
His work ethic is actually fantastic. You know, we could be sat down at 11 o'clock at night, and if someone, you know, say for instance, someone rang us up and said, oh, they need you 50 miles away, you know, he would be like, I'll go and do it. I don't mind going. And he honestly, I've never actually had an engineer that's as willing to just jump up and go and help, which is quite rare to see these days, especially, you know, younger generation. It seems to be that it's a bit harder to get that kind of commitment almost.
And I think he's very grateful to us, you know, for taking him on. You know, and even like with the van that he's got, you know, he almost, I feel, can't believe his luck, you know, and he'll do anything now as a business. And you know, one thing I would say to anyone thinking about setting up their own business or a young business is how you treat your team. Because, you know, he will do anything for us practically. And, you know, it will go above and beyond, which is what I raised my point earlier, that, you know, it's so important to customers.
It's like the times when he does do that, though, he does sometimes get a takeaway for him and his partner and so on. And it's like, well, that's probably why he does it, so he gets some food.
But that's again why, you know, we're really good with our team, because, you know, we'll say, I mean, we had a new engineer, as I say, started on Monday, you know, and he went with the sort of newer engineer, and you know, I said, you know, get yourself lunch at lunchtime. It's, you know, your first day, you know, pay it on the credit card. And, you know, actually they're just really grateful for it. But it's the environment we love people to thrive in, and they actually do.
Yeah, it's great to hear. I mean, you know, there are so many sort of younger people that do want to get into the industry, and there's a lot of businesses that just won't give them that opportunity. We see it time and time again where people want an engineer to hit the ground running. They want them fully trained, ready to go. They don't want to spend any time training them. And it's like, well, yeah, but there's only an infinite supply of those people. What about the youngsters that do want to come into the industry or step out of an electrical background into this industry, and because they can't go out and service an alarm or wire up a CCTV system, a lot of businesses just aren't interested in them, and that's a shame, real crying shame.
It's also not that easy for a business to take on a younger person. You know, we've faced some challenges with that engineer, in the sense that, like we say, he's got to a point where his skill level is really good, and right, let's get him on the road. So we get a van, and
Insurance.
The insurance. So we had a van. We had a van which we tried to get him insured on. No one would insure him. So then that's why we had to buy a smaller van, and even then, it's nearly half the price of the van itself. So it's things like that, I think they need to be looked into, because, you know, if a company looks at a youngster and thinks, oh yeah, got a good skill level, but, you know, we've got to pay all this out, we've got to pay that out. You know, it's you know, for instance, you think that if a company had all 4 transit customs, and then they've got this really good engineer who's 21 years old, then they can't just put him in one of those vans because the insurance company won't insure him. That's something that, you know, if there was a way of getting someone to sort that out, it'd be fantastic, because you'd get young people getting into businesses.
Yeah, so, you know, I can understand it, but actually, you know, having someone like that engineer, you know, as part of your workforce is actually, you know, a great thing. And I think we will certainly grow our workforce with some sort of younger people. And, you know, we in our roles previously, you know, we're used to sort of mentoring and bringing people through. And so, and we will continue to do that in this business.
Good. And is because obviously if you couldn't put him onto an apprenticeship where he did have to have day release, you don't get any subsidies for that, do you?
That's right.
If you could put him onto a proper apprenticeship, you'd get the subsidy, which would obviously help with all those additional costs.
Yeah, exactly. And I had looked into it, because when we were meeting him, I'd looked into it, and I knew we'd get sort of a bit of money up front, and then obviously get his training and everything paid for. So, you know, when he said, you know, he didn't really feel it was for him, we actually just really liked him and his attitude. And I think we knew that it was worth, you know, that extra money.
Fair play to you. Fair play. You know, I have seen it before where businesses have met with people and said, look, great guy, want to put him on an apprenticeship. And then that person's done virtually the same thing. Said, look, college, not really for me. It's not, I'm not that academic. I can't sit there in a classroom and learn that way. I learn by doing things. And that's been tough for that business, because they really wanted the guy and couldn't really work out a way of doing it, whereas you have. So brilliant. Fair play to you. Okie dokie. I think we were just about done. So if people want to engage with you and contact you and use your services, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I mean, we're always advertising on LinkedIn and Facebook. So if any sort of potential customers, you know, would like to talk to us, they can certainly find us there. I know we have our mobile numbers on LinkedIn, you know, so if people just want to connect with us, they'll be able to see those. I think if there's any, you know, people that actually want to join us in the team, again, you know, connect with us through LinkedIn. We'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. And, you know, we may not have anything straight away, but we will still speak to people about the potential. We are growing, you know, and we will be building our team for sure. So
brilliant. Good stuff. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for allowing me to pick your brains about starting up a business and the pitfalls and the joys and the good stuff and the bad, and everything that's happened in your journey along the way. So
yeah, thanks, Lee. And I think you know, it was really a bit unusual probably to get a pandemic within 6 months for us, but it just shows you that if it's something you want to do, you will absolutely achieve at it, and whatever's thrown in your way, you know, you can get through it. So hopefully if someone's watching this that, you know, wants to do a similar thing, then, you know, you should absolutely go for it.
yeah, have the dream, grab it, go for it, and don't let anything get in your way. No, you're a great example to people. Thank you very much for your time, much appreciated, and no doubt we'll speak soon.
Okay, thanks Lee. Bye.